Have you ever felt that the more you try to get closer to a woman, the more she pulls away? That feeling of sending a message and getting no response, of calling her and sensing her interest fading with every word. It can be frustrating, even exhausting, but there's something important you need to know. Insisting not only doesn't help, but might actually be driving her further away. The good news is, there are much more effective and authentic ways to capture her attention and keep her interest, without chasing her or coming across as desperate. I'm Celia, and today I want to share a completely different approach with you. One that will help you not only connect with her, but also transform yourself into a man who naturally inspires attraction and respect. Together, we'll explore the keys to becoming someone who doesn't need to beg for attention, because your mere presence is enough to spark curiosity and desire. Stay with me until the end, because the final point I'll share could completely change the way you understand relationships, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Let's get started. Number 1, learn to enjoy your own space. One of the most common mistakes we make when trying to connect with someone is basing our happiness or sense of fulfillment on that person's attention. Not only does this put an unfair burden on them, but it also strips you of the personal power you need to build a genuine relationship. The truth is, no one can fill the voids within you, and seeking validation from someone else will only make you seem dependent, something that's less attractive and emotionally draining for both sides. Women, like anyone, are drawn to people who have their own lives, rich inner worlds, and a stability that doesn't waver in someone's absence. Relational psychology is clear on this. One of the foundations of attraction lies in the balance between connection and independence. According to psychologist Nathaniel Branden, a pioneer in self-esteem studies, healthy relationships are not built from need, but from abundance. This means that before inviting someone into your life, it's essential to make sure your life is already fulfilling on its own. When you enjoy your own space, your interests, and your personal achievements, you radiate a confidence that is truly irresistible. Think about this. How can you expect someone to want to be by your side if you don't even enjoy your own company? The real secret isn't in what you do to attract her, but in the energy you project when you're not trying to impress her. Men who live interesting, rich, and fulfilling lives naturally spark curiosity because they exude something powerful. They're not looking to fill an emotional void, but to share the best of themselves with someone who values it. Start enjoying your passions, your free time, and those little moments you spend with yourself. Rediscover hobbies you've set aside, invest in your personal growth, and above all, learn to be happy on your own. When you do this, your need to insist disappears because you're no longer seeking someone else's approval to validate your existence. And here's the surprising part. When you focus on yourself, the world, including that woman you have in mind, starts to see you differently. Now that you understand the importance of reconnecting with yourself, the next step is learning how to capture her attention in a much more subtle and powerful way. Don't miss the next lesson, where we'll explore how silence can be your greatest ally in sparking her interest. Number 2, spark her curiosity without saying a word. Picture this. A woman is scrolling through her phone, casually flipping through messages and notifications with little interest. Suddenly, she pauses on your conversation. Maybe it's because she noticed that after your last message, you didn't send another, or perhaps you didn't reply as quickly as you usually do. That small break in the usual rhythm sparks something in her, curiosity. Almost instinctively, her mind starts wondering what you're up to, why you haven't replied, or if something has changed. This subtle shift is incredibly powerful. Neuroscience shows that the human brain has a natural need to close open loops. That's why, when something is left incomplete or uncertain, like a conversation that ends unexpectedly, the brain works to resolve the mystery. This phenomenon, known as the Zeigarnik effect, is widely used in marketing strategies to capture attention, but it can also be applied successfully in relationships. It's not about manipulating or playing games with someone's feelings. It's about learning to pace interactions in a way that generates intrigue and anticipation. Think about texting. If you're always available and respond instantly, she gets used to the predictable rhythm, and the exchange loses its spark. Now imagine this. One day, you stop replying right at the most interesting part of the conversation. Maybe you're discussing something you're both passionate about, and you end with something like, "I love talking about this, but I've got to run. Let's catch up later." That pause not only gives her time to think about what you were saying, but also creates a gap she'll want to fill. Silence can be your most powerful ally when used intentionally. By not constantly staying in touch, you give her the space to think about you, wonder what you're up to, and even feel a subtle longing to talk to you again. But for this to work, you need to project a life that's rich and interesting enough to justify your absence, something you began building in the first step. Silence works because it shows you don't need to be present all the time to keep the connection alive. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how mystery can become your most irresistible tool, something that sets you apart from every other man vying for her attention. Don't miss it, because you'll learn how to become the intriguing enigma she can't help but want to solve. Number 3, create an irresistible aura of mystery. Robert had always been a straightforward guy. If he liked someone, he'd say so without hesitation. If he wanted to know what a woman was thinking, he'd ask directly. To him, being clear and transparent was a virtue. But even with the best of intentions, he began noticing a pattern in his relationships. Things were exciting at first, but over time, the women he dated started to drift away. Everything became predictable. Without realizing it, Robert was laying all his cards on the table too soon, leaving little room for interest or curiosity to grow. One day, during a conversation with a friend, something made him pause and reflect. His friend said, "Relationships are like reading a good book. If you know the entire ending on the first page, you lose interest. But if the author knows how to pace the story, you stay hooked until the very last chapter." That comment made Robert rethink his approach. What if he left a little mystery? What if he didn't reveal everything right away and allowed others to discover him gradually over time? The next time he met someone, he decided to try this new perspective. It wasn't about hiding who he was or being evasive, but about sharing himself more gradually. When asked about his life, instead of diving into exhaustive details, he kept his answers open-ended. "I had an amazing experience there, but I'll tell you more about it later." Or if they discussed his weekend, he'd say something like, "I did something fun, but the best part was the company." Robert started noticing a different kind of response. The women he spoke to seemed more engaged, asking more questions, and genuinely wanting to know more about him. The mystery not only piqued their interest, but also shifted the dynamic. By not laying everything out immediately, he projected confidence and self-assurance, someone who didn't need constant validation. Over time, Robert realized something even more profound. This air of mystery wasn't just a strategy, but a reflection of his self-worth. He had learned to value his inner world and to share it thoughtfully, reserving parts of himself for those who truly cared to discover them. Robert's story is a reminder that you don't need to reveal everything at once or always be readily available. Mystery isn't about hiding important things, but about leaving space for curiosity to flourish. When you're an enigma, when there's more to uncover, you become someone worth exploring, not just understanding. If this approach resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, so drop a comment below. And write the phrase, "I'm a man of value," to show your commitment to this journey of growth. There are still important lessons ahead, and I'll give you a sneak peek. The final chapter will be key to tying everything you've learned together. Number 4, elevate your personal value every day. One of the most attractive qualities you can embody is being a man who is constantly evolving. When you commit to personal growth, you don't just become more interesting, you also exude an energy of confidence and security that people around you immediately notice. The key is to take small daily actions. that, over time, build a stronger, more fulfilled version of yourself. That's why I want to introduce you to a practical exercise you can start today, the 3 Wins Ritual. This exercise is simple but powerful. Every night before you go to bed, take 5 minutes to write down 3 things you did well during the day. They don't have to be major accomplishments. They could be as simple as being kind to someone, finishing a pending task, or taking time to read something interesting. The goal is to recognize what you're doing right, even on days that might feel less productive. This habit not only reinforces your self-esteem, but also helps you stay focused on your own progress. The second step of the ritual is to choose one action to improve the following day. For example, if you didn't prioritize your health today, you might decide to go for a 20-minute walk tomorrow. If you feel like you've lost touch with friends, you could send a message or plan a meetup. The important thing is to take one small step each day that moves you closer to the best version of yourself. Why is this so effective? Because women, like anyone, are naturally drawn to people who have direction in life. A man who is actively working on his own growth not only demonstrates confidence, but also projects a sense of purpose and stability. You don't need to be perfect, but being someone who is consistently striving to improve is magnetic. It shows that you're not seeking external validation. You're building something from within. Start this exercise today and watch how your perception of yourself shifts over time. When you feel proud of who you are, that pride will shine through in your interactions, and those around you will notice. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how to balance the dynamics of power in a relationship so you never feel like you're giving more than you're receiving. Number 5, shift the power dynamics in the relationship. In ancient Greece, one of the most fascinating figures known for his ability to influence was Pericles, an Athenian politician and strategist whose intelligence and charisma transformed not only his city, but also his personal relationships. It's said that Pericles never sought to impose his authority directly. Instead, he mastered human dynamics with subtlety. Rather than pleading for attention or trying to control those around him, Pericles commanded respect and admiration by projecting quiet confidence and a strategic mind. His philosophy was clear. Power in any relationship isn't sustained by force, but by handling it with finesse and intelligence. This principle applies perfectly to personal dynamics. When you feel like you're giving too much in a relationship, it's often because you've allowed the other person to take full control of the situation. Much like the strategic games cherished by the Greeks, such as chess, maintaining the balance of power means knowing when to move and when to wait. Pericles didn't just understand this, he lived by it. His way of speaking, his posture, and his ability to withdraw at the right moment gave him an edge that wasn't rooted in brute force, but in the perception he projected. The same goes for relationships. If you're constantly trying to please, convince, or insist, you're surrendering your position of strength. But when you become someone who knows when to step back, when to give space, and when to act, you change the dynamic entirely. A modern example of this can be seen in how many successful individuals don't feel the need to constantly prove themselves. Their confidence lies in who they are, not in what they do to impress others. Applying this principle requires you to trust yourself and develop a calm, steady presence, much like Pericles. It's not about competing with the other person, but about maintaining your own emotional balance. When you stop chasing and start projecting inner stability, the dynamic shifts in your favor. The other person no longer sees you as dependent, but as someone worthy of respect. This change in perception can transform any relationship because the power you exude through calmness leaves a far greater impact than any attempt to assert control. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to leave a subtle emotional imprint by using sensory experiences and small details that, just as in Pericles' time, become unforgettable memories for those who encounter them. Number 6, leave subtle but lasting impressions. Picture this, you're at a cafe with her, sharing a moment that flows naturally. As you talk, You let out a slight smile and say something unexpected. You know, there's something about the way you speak. It's so calming, almost contagious. I really like it. She smiles back, but in her mind, something sticks. It wasn't just any compliment. It was specific, sincere, and most importantly, unexpected. That seemingly fleeting remark becomes an emotional anchor, a memory she'll recall at the most unexpected times. The human brain has an incredible ability to link emotions to small sensory stimuli. A fragrance, a song, or even someone's tone of voice can trigger intense memories that are deeply embedded. This happens because the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, is directly connected to the senses. When someone experiences something meaningful, like a distinctive scent or a special word, their memory intertwines with the emotions of that moment, creating a connection that's hard to forget. Now imagine yourself in that cafe scenario. Picture this experiment. You choose to wear a distinctive scent, a fragrance that becomes part of your presence. That scent is there, subtly present in every interaction. Then, think about pairing it with a unique gesture, like lightly touching her hand while explaining something important or using a phrase that holds personal meaning between the two of you. Every time she encounters that scent, even when you're not around, her memory will fill in the blanks. Combining a sensory trigger with a meaningful emotion creates what some call soul imprints, moments that linger because they connect on a deeper level than logic alone. What you're doing in this scenario goes beyond making a good impression. You're crafting invisible connections that stay with her. There's no need for grand, elaborate gestures. It's the small, seemingly insignificant details that stand the test of time. Think of it like planting seeds in a garden. Not all of them will grow immediately, but the ones that do will flourish into the strongest roots. Now take a moment to reflect. How many of your interactions leave lasting impressions like this? Most people go through life unaware of how small details can profoundly impact others' emotions. But once you become conscious of this power, you can use it to create connections that transcend the ordinary. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to break the routine in subtle yet impactful ways, so that every interaction with you becomes unique and unforgettable. Number 7, be unpredictable and keep the spark alive. Life is full of patterns and routines, cycles that trap us in comfort and familiarity. But what truly makes something memorable, what leaves a lasting imprint, are the moments that break that monotony. Those flashes of surprise that remind us we're alive. In human relationships, this principle is just as powerful. Being unpredictable in a thoughtful and positive way doesn't just keep others intrigued, it also fuels your own capacity to grow and evolve continuously. Think about it for a moment. The essence of a spark lies in its unpredictability, its ability to ignite something new where there was only calm before. When you're an unpredictable man, not through inconsistency or chaos, but through genuine, refreshing energy, you become someone who defies expectations, inspires curiosity, and leaves an indelible impression. This isn't about constantly changing to please others. It's about daring to be versatile, living a life rich with layers, interests, and unexpected moments that reflect your authenticity. Unpredictability isn't just a tactic to keep someone interested, it's a reminder that life isn't meant to follow a rigid script. It's about allowing yourself to change, adapt, grow, and surprise even yourself along the way. Someone unafraid to break the mold radiates a quiet confidence that doesn't need explanation. It's a confidence that can be felt, rooted in a person deeply connected to their purpose and unafraid to explore uncharted territory. Consider this: how many times have you stayed stuck in a pattern simply because it was easier than taking a risk on something new? In relationships, that predictable comfort can feel safe, but may also dim the spark of excitement we all crave. Being unpredictable doesn't mean creating uncertainty. It means showing there's always more to discover with you, something that challenges the ordinary and inspires the extraordinary. In the end, True transformation doesn't come from what you do to capture others' attention. It comes from how you make your own life vibrant, full of surprises, excitement, and moments that remind you what it means to be alive. That energy is contagious. It's magnetic. When you live this way, people don't just miss you, they admire you. Not because you're performing for them, but because your life itself becomes a testament to what it means to live fully. Take this thought with you. The spark you ignite in others always begins within yourself. Nurture it, fuel it, and let it guide your path. If you've made it this far, I want to congratulate and thank you. Not everyone is willing to invest time in their personal growth, and that already says a lot about you. Now, I'd love to know where in the world you're joining this home of wisdom from. Leave me a comment with the phrase, "I'm building my best self," followed by your country. It would be a pleasure to read your words and feel the connection we're creating in this space. I'm Celia, and the purpose of this channel is to support you on your journey toward a fuller, more authentic, and more connected life. Every reflection we share here is designed to help you better understand yourself and strengthen your relationships from a place of confidence and emotional balance. If this content inspired you or gave you something new to think about, I invite you to subscribe and share this video with someone who might need it. Sometimes, a simple message can be the starting point for a major transformation. This home of wisdom will always be here for you, reminding you that every step you take toward your best self is a step worth taking. See you in the next message, where we'll continue exploring this wonderful path together.